Meet our friend Monica from Turin, the capital of Piedmont. You know I'm from Sicily, so let's see how we tease each other and compare funny stories about each other regions and lifestyles. Join us, be Italian with Siciclando. Ciao Monica, benvenuta.
Ciao Dario, how are you?
Ciao. Great, great, almost great, almost great. But very happy to meet with you. Unfortunately, we can't meet in Turin, in Piedmont. Monica is our guide for Turin, for Piedmont in
Hello.
general. And yeah, thank you so much. We today we are going to talk. Sorry.
Thank you for calling me.
You have to know, when I got this idea about these interviews with people that could bring us into the Italian culture, Monica was the first one because I was looking for somebody interesting, charming, and capable to tell stories and not to be academic and just, tell us the history of Italy, which I
Expectation.
Lots of expectation, exactly. Exactly right. Now, Monica, I'm raising the bar and you have to be fun. How about that?
I, I,
So, today we start, Monica, with the stereotypes of Italy and the differences between. You and I are going to argue quite a bit. You are from the north, I'm Sicilian. My wife, I just got divorced, and my wife is from Turin, so I'm very ready to fight with you.
so this is going to be interesting.
This is going to be very interesting. So let's start from my very first way of describing people for Piedmont. We say Piemontesi falsi e cortesi. What does it mean? Can I say that to somebody to Piedmont from Piedmont?
Well, I wouldn't recommend that.
Okay.
We don't like it so much, but this is a saying, I must say.
So what does it mean? From where does it come from?
Piemontesi falsi e cortesi, of course, means people from Piemonte are supposed to be false and polite. So where does it come from? History may help us. Piemonte, northwestern corner of Italy, has been invaded by everybody, from the first barbarian. Before those people, we had the Romans, and then we had the Charlemagne, the French, and those people, we are surrounded by the mountains. So the attitude was that of, I would say, close enough, being careful. So this could be an explanation in being false and polite. Try to understand what was going on in those times. Then don't forget that Torino became the capital of Italy United, 1861, which means that there were a lot of political issues being discussed here, and you had to be diplomatic in order not to reveal your cards, we say in Italian. Also, Torino, an industrial town. Fiat, strikes, the trade unions. There again, you had to be careful, I would say. So this is probably why people tell that we are false and polite. It means that we are very careful, or
Right.
we are supposed to be very careful.
You're not. That's the big difference with a Sicilian. You don't really hug everybody. I mean, like at a first meeting, you need some time to understand who you are talking to and open yourself.
If the general um, idea of the Italians, very generally speaking, instead of being extremely open minded, people hugging you, like you were saying, it does not apply so much here in town.
Well, that is a general statement that we brought that. The Sicilian made that happen, basically. We are the fun people.
I can
So
feel the differences myself. I mean, I am Italian, but I feel the differences. My best friend is from Palermo, so I know Sicily quite well. And there's a difference. Even nowadays, 2020, We are we all went to university. We are all educated people, but still we have these differences, which is the beauty of Italy.
Right, it's a kind of at the beginning it appears like people are a bit more kind of cold, emotionally speaking. They don't express very much, and I'm talking about the north in general. Well, as I said, my wife is from Turin, and when I relocated to Turin, it was quite an impact because I mean that I could see that within the family. I mean, not with people that I didn't know. I mean, people with who I had quite a good intimacy, you know, and I mean, I remember, and this is another stereotypes, another big difference. My first big argue with my wife, one of many, but that's another chapter. my first my first argue was about a Christmas lunch. I am the chef at home, and so I was supposed to prepare the Christmas lunch, which was I was breaking so many rules of our traditions because the first one was about the quantity of food. I mean, we were at that time, I don't remember that day, probably about 10 people, uh, which rarely happens in my family, where we have a minimum of 25, 30 people for a Christmas lunch. But and again, that's a difference. 10 people, I said, okay, I was preparing, I remember, I believe, sausages, and so I said, okay, let's have I will buy about 20 pieces of sausages. And Silvia was kind of crazy. What are you talking about? I mean, it's 10 people, 8 sausages, because we have other food, we don't need to. And I can tell you that was a big argue.
It is very interesting because, well, Piemonte has also some agricultural area that I'm sure you all know, which is the Langhe wine production countryside. So in those areas, the attitude would be that of big communities because you have the big farms and you invite all your people for lunch, for Christmas, Easter, or whatever. Um, it's not the same in town, in Torino. But again, um, any of us, everywhere in the world, has the heritage which derives from the place where you live. Again, Torino, industrial town, Fiat, you work in shift, you have to rely on your wage only. Probably you made a lot of effort in order to reach what you have, and that could be an explanation. But there's another one. Torino is the royal town, the place where the royals used to live. So the idea of elegance, you have been to Torino many times. See how Torino is the architectural evidence of the political power. Torino is a royal town. Everything has to be elegant. So the idea of food, there again, is that of having a little quantity, very well dressed up tables, not so many people. Why? Because it's more elegant. It doesn't apply in the countryside, as I was saying, but in Torino, the idea is that of having maybe a lot of courses, but not so much in terms of quantity. So this is why I understand what your wife was saying to you. Because it's very quick. You say, okay, we are 10 people. Of course, not everybody will have a sausage, steak, or whatever. So let's count like 8, maximum 10. Okay, so this is 20 doesn't make any sense, which is not, I'm not saying that we don't want to spend or we are stingy people, but it's an attitude. But see how you can then have quarrels about that, arguments.
Oh, I can tell you big arguments about that. Because really in Sicily is exactly the opposite. We wanna the focus becomes welcoming our guests and make sure that there is more than enough food for everybody. We always say the food needs to we must have leftover. We don't want to have a lunch where all the food is gone.
What I have noticed is that, say you are in Sicily, because I was for a wedding, for a big wedding ceremony, then you have the banquet. The people who are invited there somehow expect to find a lot of food because that could be one of the comments. Wow, the food was nice. There were huge quantities. Here, it's somehow almost the other way around. It is seen as a waste if there's too much. See? So we would say everything was perfect, very good. We didn't eat so much so that at the end we were.
It actually becomes a complaint.
Yeah, it can be a complaint. See?
Wow. So my second question, and you will recognize pretty soon that this is basically a therapy because I need to understand all the argues I had with my wife. So second argue is about the dinner time. I mean, she was really supposed to, used to have dinner like around 6:30, 7 p.m. really, which is still afternoon for me. I mean, it's barely after my nap. And so I grew up when I grew up I had dinner at least about 8:30, 9 p.m. at least. If you go out and have a pizza place, you go to a pizza place, it could easily be about 9:30 p.m. Very much. So, I mean, we say if you have dinner at 7, I mean, that happens only in the hospitals. And so we don't wanna say that. It's 7 p.m. is not a good time for having dinner. So is that true? It's true that you at what time you usually have dinner?
There again, it is changing nowadays because it's globalization somehow. Nowadays, I would say that it would be in between 8 and 8:30 maximum. But I perfectly remember when my dinner time was at 7:30. Why? Daylight, climate is different here if compared to the one that you find in Sicily. Work shift from Fiat. If you have to get up at 6, not at 6 o'clock, make it at 5 o'clock in order to be at Fiat at 6. Of course, your dinner time has to be around 6:37. I remember that when I was a child at my uncle's house, that would be 6:30, maximum 7 o'clock.
So, no, it's good. I'm thinking. I have a question for you. Could you please call my wife and tell her that now it's like you have dinner at 8:30. Now it's the normality.
Okay, but that's another question.
That's another chapter for sure. So my last argue.
So you had a lot of
A
arguments,
lot, yeah, no, I
and
told you.
otherwise you wouldn't have divorced.
Exactly right, exactly right. The funny part is that even now we still argue, but anyway, that's not the topic of this video. Now we talk about being on time.
Wow.
Mamma mia. And so here is the story.
That's a big issue.
That's a huge issue. I can tell you this story. It was Sunday. We were invited from my father-in-law for his. He was a big celebration, 60 years old, and he invited the whole family in a restaurant. So lunchtime at 1 p.m. And it's Sunday morning. And what do you do in Sunday morning if you are Dario? You just go on a bike ride. There is nothing else that you can think about. And so Silvia says, please consider that at 1 p.m. on time, we need to be there already. And so come back home in time to shower, whatever you want to do, and leave by not latest than 12:30. And I was like, what are you talking about? Sure, yeah, I'm always on time. Anyway, that started a bit of arguing early in the morning. So I had my bike ride. I come back, shower, prepare, and I was on time. I was on a Sicilian time.
Define being on time.
Absolutely. I mean, in Sicily, you first of all, in Sicily, you never say let's meet at 1. We always say, okay, let's meet at 1:30. So there is 30 minutes. If I want to be on time, that 30 minutes goes to 15 minutes, which means, wow, I am on time if I am 5 minutes after. I don't like the word late in that case, but anyway. So I can tell you, I mean, we were almost there, I mean, at the meeting point, and was 1:03, and we were probably 2 or 3 minutes. We had 2 or 3 minutes to go, and 1:03 we received a telephone call from my father-in-law, and Sylvia, hello daddy, because she knew, and I was like driving and say, wow. And he was complaining at 1:03. He was already complaining. Please help me understand this.
Whenever we say, let's meet up at 1 o'clock, of course, you always have an underwriting, an undertext everywhere with anybody. So when I tell you, let's meet at 1, I mean that actually I will be there 10 to 1 in order to be sure that at 1 o'clock I am there. This is why I knew what you were about to say as soon as you said, let's talk about being punctual. So this is the reason why you received a call at 4 minutes past 1, because somehow you were expected to be there and make it 5 to 1. That would have been perfect.
That's almost unpolite in Sicily.
Yeah, there again, you see how this attitude may be understood or read by something which is unpolite. And here we give for granted, exactly like in Sicily, you give for granted that if you say 1 and you arrive at 20 past 1, that's okay. You don't need to make any excuse. Whereas here, something has to be happened somehow. Otherwise, you don't have any excuse. Why? I would say again, work shift from Fiat, you get used to being punctual. I mean, I'm just guessing. You are raised up like that. Don't forget that the Savoy were military people. The dynasty, generally speaking, were of military, very skilled military people. And so the idea of being punctual is an idea of paying respect. This is how we read that. If I'm late, according to my schedule, I'm not paying respect in this case to you. So this is how it was read by your relatives in those times. This is why the argument.
Okay, I think next step is that you please call my wife and actually her family too. If you can spend a bit of your time doing that, I'd appreciate it a lot.
These are the beauties of Italy. In
Right.
this sense, we are totally a unique country.
Absolutely. I mean, I really, really can see huge differences because really this impacts our everyday life. I mean, Sicilian time is different than time from Piedmont, and I learned that at my expenses.
And we're all Italians. We live 1.5 flight uh, distance from each other. As I told you, I have a lot of friends there. As you probably have friends, you live in Bologna, which is in the north of Italy,
Right.
but we still do maintain those differences.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. In fact, we said I don't want to have an interview longer than 15 minutes next time, and we are already about 20 minutes, I believe. So, but that's because I didn't specify if it was 15 Sicilian minutes or 15
And
Piedmontese
I
minutes.
didn't know, so I am salt. I am salt from there.
So next time we'll talk about these differences in language, because I know that if I talk to you in Sicilian, you could not understand one word.
Exactly. If I talk to you in Piedmontese, I'm sure that you wouldn't understand. I mean, if
Exactly.
I want you not to understand me exactly like you, we can do that.
Let's do that. And my question is, we do at the same time, if we meet at 10 a.m. in the morning, you want to say 10 a.m. or like Sicily, let's do 10:30. What's your
From
preference?
me, if you say 10, it means that I will be there 10 to 10.
Okay, I will do, I mean, I promise, I will do my best, but I cannot guarantee.
Let's
But
see.
I will do my best.
Okay, let's see next time.
Ok, grazie Monica, ciao.
Bye bye, arrivederci, ciao.